Is an electric motor an example of a heat engine? Why or why not? This can seem kind of a confusing question at first. If I'd said, is a car engine an example of a heat engine, it's pretty obvious that that's yes. Maybe this seems yes as well because they do the same thing, right? But if we look at the description that we've kept on the whiteboard here from the key concepts discussion, it definitely is true that an electric motor produces work. But if we look at the other two parts, thermal energy at a high temperature, that's a lot harder to identify for an electric motor. Now, a possible interpretation one could make is to say, well, an electric motor really is powered by electricity, but that electricity had to be powered somewhere, maybe an electric generator, and in that electric generator there would be fuel, and when that fuel combusts, that could be the thermal energy at a high temperature. And from that point of view, maybe it would be a heat engine because that generator would also produce thermal energy that it releases into the environment through its cooling system. But really all that proves is that the generator is a heat engine. I'd like to look at just the electric motor as a component of a system. Clearly, if the electric motor is receiving electricity, it must be part of some like power distribution system involving like circuits and stuff. But I'm not considering anything outside the electric motor itself. So really, it just takes in electricity. And electricity, it turns out from a theoretical perspective, doesn't really need to have a temperature. You could, if you have superconducting wires, you could actually power this electric motor at absolute zero. So there's no need for a high temperature. There's also no real need for waste heat. In reality, an electric motor is probably going to have friction, and there would be some thermal energy produced due to that. But if you could make the motor out of completely frictionless components, at least theoretically, you would not need to have any waste heat and therefore no thermal energy going out into a lower temperature environment. So really the electric motor doesn't have to have either of the two things associated with temperature, so that makes it not a heat engine. Let's check out how the slide answers. It says no heat transfers are really necessary for the functioning of an electric motor.